Hello, today I will be making a presentation on Making Connections, Beloved by Toni Morrison, presented by me. What is the novel Beloved? The future was sunset. The past was something to leave behind. And if it didn't stay behind, well, you might have to stomp it out. Slave life, freed life, every day was a test and a trial. This powerful quote from Beloved depicts the essence of Toni Morrison's 1987 novel, a message about the generational struggle to reconcile the trauma of the past with the desire to move forward. This novel, inspired by the true story of Margaret Garner, a runaway slave who killed her daughter to avoid re-enslavement, delves into the lasting impacts of slavery, touching upon the physical embodiment of psychological trauma. By revealing the unspoken horrors that continue to haunt even freed individuals today, Beloved confronts the question, how does one escape a past that refuses to be forgotten? So this novel was written in 1987 during the Reconstruction era, a period where the nation was grappling with the aftermath of slavery and the challenges of reclaiming oneself. The story is set in a post-Civil War Ohio and follows Seth, a former slave living with her daughter Denver and partner Paul D, in a house haunted by the ghost of her deceased daughter Beloved. 18 years later, Beloved returns as a woman who becomes increasingly attached to Seth. Her presence symbolizes Seth's unresolved trauma, which becomes central to the plot. As Seth grapples with her past, it is revealed that she killed Beloved in the past to prevent re-enslavement. This act, while meant to free her, ironically binds Seth to her haunting memories forever. Now let's delve a little bit into who the author is. So Toni Morrison was an American novelist renowned for her literary advocacy of the Black female experience and profound celebration of Black identity, culture, and history. Her most notable works include Song of Solomon, Sula, The Bluest Eye, Jazz, and Paradise. They each explore themes such as racial identity, the impact of systemic racism, the complexities of relationships, the search for self-empowerment, etc., and the ways in which history and trauma shape individual and community lives within the Black community. Morrison's upbringing, living in a racially segregated America, shapes her deep understanding of racial struggles. She felt entitled to preserve Black history and culture through literature, hence the novel's strong themes of trauma, memory, and healing. So why did I choose this novel? The reason I chose this novel is because it resonates with me. As a Black girl living in a Western society, Beloved offers a profound exploration of identity, trauma, and the complexities of race that connect to the lived experience of Black people. Reading the novel made me reflect on how historical scars of slavery still shape the way Black community is perceived and treated to this day. What resonates the most with me is the portrayal of the way of historical and systemic oppression on the Black community. So my own experiences with racial identity and navigating in a Eurocentric society deepen my understanding of the character's struggle for healing and self-definitions. Parallels can also be drawn between the lasting effects of slavery and the way systemic racism impact Black communities today. So for my character analysis, I would like to talk about Seth, the protagonist. So she is a deeply traumatized yet resilient woman driven by a deep desire to protect her children from the horrors of slavery while simultaneously struggling with the guilt and trauma of her unresolved past. At the beginning of the novel, she was strong, determined, and protective. However, she was also deeply scarred and haunted by her past, refusing to confront the trauma that continues to shape her life. Over the course of the story, she develops into a more self-aware and vulnerable person, gradually acknowledging her painful history and learning to confront her emotional wounds. Her internal conflict is a person versus self struggle that remains persistent all throughout the novel. The conflict initially stems from the trauma of her past and the guilt of killing her own daughter. Her spine would be her unconscious goal of freedom. In the novel, she goes to extreme lengths, even at the cost of her own sanity, to ensure her children will never experience the same suffering she did, hence why she killed her daughter. What literary movement is Beloved influenced by? Being a historical figure in the Black arts movement, a literary movement aimed to reconceptualize Blackness, Morrison had a profound impact on world literature, drawing inspiration from African American oral traditions and history. This novel advocates for the reclamation of Black voices and healing within communities impacted by the generational trauma of systemic oppression. So literary movements that influenced it would be the African American literature movement. This movement focuses on the African American experience, exploring themes of slavery, trauma, and cultural heritage, and linking to real-world issues, that is, the legacy of slavery, as seen with the central theme of Beloved. What parallels can I see between Beloved and other texts? Exploring the enduring impact of trauma, the struggle for identity, and the importance of resilience and reclamation in the face of systemic oppression, this story intersects with themes explored in various texts, such as Indian Horse and Still I Rise. Indian Horse and Beloved share several thematic similarities, particularly in their exploration of trauma, identity, and the lingering effects of systemic oppression. Saul grapples with the emotional scars of residential school and cultural dislocation, much like Seth's struggle with the residual trauma of slavery. Both novels explored the personal cost of colonial and racial oppression, portraying the difficulty of healing in the aftermath of such a profound sense of suffering. Still I Rise and Beloved both center on resilience in the face of oppression. Both texts acknowledge the heavy burdens of oppression and trauma, all while highlighting the power of hope in the face of destructive forces. What is the style and form of Beloved? Beloved is a literary masterpiece that weaves a complex narrative structure to tell a haunting and powerful story of slavery, trauma, and the search for identity. In order to effectively convey its message, Toni Morrison refers to nonlinear timelining, fragmented storytelling, the use of third-person omniscient narrator, and multiple perspectives as well as stream of consciousness to immerse us as readers in the characters' emotional struggles. So the nonlinear timeline, shifting between different time periods, mirrors how past and present intertwine. The fragmented storytelling highlights the characters' battles with their past, reflecting the brokenness of memory. And the use of third-person omniscient narrator, as well as multiple perspectives, reinforces the message of slavery's impact on individual and collective realities. So Beloved explores themes which illustrate the extreme measures taken by individuals to preserve autonomy in the face of oppression, reinforcing the novel's message that the past cannot be buried or forgotten as it continually shapes the present. Themes that are explored are themes of slavery and trauma through the lasting psychological effects of slavery on generations of characters, memory and storytelling through the characters recounting their traumatic past and that being an act of resistance, allowing the characters to reclaim their voices and humanities, the theme of motherhood, which is explored through the character of Seth and her love for her children, the theme of community and healing, which is explored through symbols such as the clearing, depicting the importance of collective support in overcoming generational trauma. The novel essentially critiques power dynamics that strip individuals of their agency. These themes reflect contemporary issues that touch upon the ongoing struggle with systemic racism, generational trauma, and healing within marginalized groups. What is the social and historical context of Beloved, and how does it influence the story? So the novel, as mentioned prior, is deeply rooted in the legacy of slavery and its lasting effects, taking place during a post-Civil War United States in the 19th century, during the Reconstruction era, a time where formerly enslaved African Americans faced immense challenges, including racial discrimination, violence, and the struggle for freedom and agency. The historical context of the Reconstruction era shapes the characters' trauma and serve as a driving force of the narrative, as they struggle to navigate in a society still deeply scarred by the effects of slavery. The social environment marked by segregation influences their sense of identity, their relationships, and their ability to confront the lasting impact of slavery. What was her purpose writing the novel, and who is the implied reader? So in 2019, she said, "I was drawn to it by my complicated relationship with history, a relationship that was wary, alert, but ready to be persuaded away from doubt, during which time I was keenly aware of erasures and absences and silences within the written history available to me." Toni Morrison wrote this novel to confront the horrors of slavery and explore its lasting effects on individuals and communities. Her purpose was to give voices to the silenced histories of Black Americans, particularly with the trauma that comes with surviving slavery. Through Beloved, she wanted to challenge the way history is remembered and represented, urging us as readers to confront truths about past historical events and their lasting effects on future generations. The implied reader would be someone who is emotionally mature, open-minded, and willing to confront the difficult reality of racial trauma and its lasting effects. Analyzing Beloved through critical lens, post-colonialism. So Beloved could be examined through a post-colonial lens as it explores the lingering effects of slavery, a system of violent colonial domination on the African American psyche and identity. The novel illustrates how the trauma of slavery disrupts the character's sense of self and history as they struggle to reclaim their identities and cultural heritage in the face of dehumanization and colonial legacies. Through its themes, Beloved highlights the ongoing effects of colonization and the challenge of reclaiming identity and humanity. Another lens we can examine this novel through is the lens of intersectionality, given it shows how race, gender, and class intersect to oppress Black individuals, especially women. Particularly Seth's experience as a former slave reveals how Black women face hardships such as sexual violence, exploitation, etc. How has this novel influenced my personal thinking, and what are some key takeaways? So, this novel has influenced my thinking by sensitizing me to the unacknowledged trauma within the Black community, particularly in its lingering effects of slavery that continue to shape lives today. It raised my awareness on how historical oppression manifests in subtle, enduring ways, such as intergenerational trauma, the loss of identity, and the struggle to heal. One key takeaway would be the importance of confronting the past to truly move forward and heal as a community. Now, is there anything I did not find effective about the plot or the writing? While I really did enjoy reading this novel, one aspect of Beloved that I didn't find as effective was the writing and the narration, which in my opinion at times felt confusing and difficult to follow. And while it did contribute to the novel's depth, I don't think it was as effective as it could have been.